Now, to introduce him, he is a non-profit organizational development coach. He helps his clients simplify complexity, unify teams, and maximize resources. You might have heard this introduction before. His talk is titled, When the Way We Work No Longer Works. Please, everyone, give a massive round of whoop whoops to the one and only Gary Hubbell. Gary, over to you.
Thanks, Simone. I'm going to see if you've given me permission to share a screen. Let me get you over here so that I can see all those faces. Thank you. What to say to this group in 5 minutes time? Experts all. As you introduced me, Simone, you made clear that I work with nonprofit leaders, principally in North America. And what I see is that these nonprofit leaders are running on fumes. They are doubling down on technical abilities, technical knowledge, the things that have led to their success to this point. And yet they're finding that it's no longer working because of the complexity in the environment has outpaced the solutions that once worked for them. So strategy, plans, all of that is still necessary. The latest app is still necessary. The latest automation, the next automation, and the next automation, and the next automation is still necessary, but it's not going to get them where they want to go because what's missing is the leader needing to be grounded. So all of this stuff, in my judgment, manifests in some pain that is becoming increasingly apparent. A greater sense of overwhelm, so much noise, so many choices that the leader is feeling a huge struggle. Worse, there's a sense among their teams of a real disconnect, a disconnect not only from one another, but from the meaning, from the impact that they seek to bring about. And it's causing a deep moral ache, I think. And also a sense of stuckness. Now that's a fancy consulting term. You have to be licensed to use that. But that stuckness, you'll recognize, is feeling paralyzed by uncertainty, pervasive uncertainty, where you're not sure where to turn because every direction could be the right one or could be a disaster. And so this manifestation of these pain points are creating consequences that are all too real. And they show up in my client organizations as a rising level of burnout, teams that are disconnected and disengaged. You're familiar with the term quiet quitting. And a real sense of drift, a real sense of strategic drift. And what ends up happening is there's this gradual and then accelerating stall of innovation, which is exactly what's necessary to get out of any of the things that we think that we're facing right now. So I try to show up in a way of what I would describe as a positive disturbance. And what that means to me is first and foremost inviting leaders to do their own inner work. I believe that most of the answers that we seek already lie within us. We need to get clear so that we can see and hear our own internal voice. If you were with us, what was it, Simone, a month ago, you honored me with a member of the month and you were celebrating my slogging through a lot of headwinds. And I shared the story that I pulled a quote from Václav Havel from the Czech Republic. How about that, Christina? I pulled Václav Havel, who said, whether or not all is lost depends on whether or not I am lost. And so that kind of inner work is galvanizing for every leader, capital L or small l, as is the need to reframe the headwinds, reframe the resistance as something that is conveying information that we can use to consider a different way forward. The resistance is sometimes a way of suggesting what is trying to be protected, and that's information that we need. I also try to invite clients to ask better questions, not how questions, not when questions, but questions that are more about what and why. What's trying to emerge right now? What are the signals that we think are trying to emerge? What if we weren't afraid? What would we do if we weren't afraid? What if we treated this moment as just an experiment and not a plan? And so these are not answers so much as that they are portals for leaders to walk through and unlock new possibility that I think resides within them. So I think this necessitates a doubling down on each of us as leaders leading from the inside out. For us to have an external impact, we need to have greater clarity about our intention, more authenticity about that. And I think once that happens, as that continues to happen, our organizations and our capacity collectively to adapt is going to be directly influenced by our own capacity to listen, to reframe, and to lead from the inside out. So that's the work that I wanted to, that's the work I want to be about, and that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Wow, it's brilliant. Thank you, Gary. What a wonderful presentation. Can you give a massive round of whoop whoops, everyone, to Gary? Thank you. Yeah, you can give a whoop whoop to yourself. There is what I'll invite everyone to do now is to write down in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, actually, you got a bit of time. If there is something that stood out for you that you can say, I can apply this to my life, I can apply this to my business. I'm gonna start with Marky. She was the first one, so Marky, you can go ahead.
I love that quote, whether or not everything is lost depends on whether or not I'm lost. I don't think I quoted it exactly, but I love that. That's really helpful and really insightful to when we feel adrift and when I feel adrift in my own whatever I think is important that day. If I'm lost, then everything is lost.
Thank you, Marky. Anyone else who wants to share? There is one thing that Gary said that really struck with you, Claire.
I really liked the bit about, I can't remember the exact words you said. I'd like you to say them again, actually. But the bit about it being an experiment and not the plan, like just opening that up to that infinite possibility and taking the pressure, off ourselves to say, actually, this is just the playground of life, right? We don't have to stick to this rigid plan that we've created. So I really like that, Gary. Thank you.
Wow, seeing things as an experiment. Selena, did you wanted to say something? I saw you muted yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to say something that's working from inside out. That's really stood out for me. That, it's all starts with believing inside. Then when it comes out, you really have to sell to yourself. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Selena. Danielle.
I pretty much had the same thing also. It was a reminder to me, leading from the inside out was a reminder to me that the inside being the brain and the physiological well-being, mental, emotional, physical well-being, and in addition to what you bring, the content that you bring to the table, and the way you bring it to the table. And so it was a reminder for me to really take care of myself.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. Pamela.
Well, this is all that I do because I believe that we create our own healing from the inside out. So for me, he's talking my language.
I think there was for me there was something that I was observing a bit myself. I was like it. I caught myself there because I think something that makes us all in common is that we have a passion for learning. We have a passion for reading. We have a passion for listening. We have a passion for courses. That's what makes us part of this community. Like this, if we're looking at all the differences that we have, this is probably the one thing that we all have in common. And I caught myself thinking, oh, but I know this already. I don't know if anyone, I've heard this before. I know this already. And I think that's the biggest danger, that the biggest trap that we can fall on. So I'm glad I caught myself thinking about that, because I'm like, oh, I've heard this already. I know this already. But do I? Do I really? Because how many times I'm looking for the next technology and the next implementation and the next automation for solutions instead of starting from the inside out. And I think there is definitely a place for the next technology, and there is a place for that. But it needs to come from a center. So I think for me, what really stood out and how this reflected to me is one, don't fall into the trap, which is probably the trap that many leaders, or I don't know if anyone else here in this room, but also the leaders that you work with, Gary, they have. It's like, oh, I heard this already. I know this already. But I think the real gem is when we can, or personally for me, where I can stop that voice and really listen and really think about what is the message that is Gary trying to say to me right now? How can I apply it right now in my situation, and where am I not applying it? Because there might be areas where I am and areas where I'm not. And having that internal, that during your presentation, my brain was doing all that, Gary. So is I wanted to share it out loud because I think that it is if you're looking at this, is also, in my opinion, the foundation of life. It is the foundation for happiness. It's the foundation for success, and also to create something that is good for the world. And we can see everywhere around us things that are not good for the world. And that's why I also believe that your work is fundamental. Yeah, it's very important. So thank you for guiding me through that mental shamble that I went through. Caroline.
No, I love the phrase, thinking of it as portals to unlock possibility. I love that. It's a portal, which means you can go through into something that's you don't know about. It's possibility there, rather than it's a block that you can't get through. I love that phrase, being a portal, to unlock possibility. Awesome.
Yeah, love it. All right. Anyone else wants to share before we move on? All right, we'll move on. So Gary, great job. Awesome job, everyone. Give Gary a massive round of whoops again. Here we go. Okay.